They never warn you before life decides to split you open. It doesn't knock politely. It doesn't ask if you're ready. It just hits. And when it does, most people collapse. They crumble, cry, beg for relief, chase comfort. But not you. Not if you're serious about becoming powerful. Not if you want to rise without asking permission. Niccolo Machiavelli never wrote for the comfortable. His words were for the broken, the betrayed, the discarded. Because only in that state does the real game begin. When life breaks you, it's not interested in your excuses. It's watching what you do next. If you want to know who you really are, let everything fall apart. Let the money vanish. Let people turn their backs. Let the future look uncertain. Because in that storm, you finally meet yourself. And here's the truth. If your mind is fragile, you'll rot in self-pity. You'll replay the betrayal, rehearse your victimhood, spiral until you're nothing. But if your mind is cold, alert, detached, you'll evolve. Pain isn't your enemy, it's your professor. It strips away illusions, separating the fragile from the forged. Pain, if you let it, will design a mind that no pressure can bend again. This world doesn't care about how you feel. It only responds to who you become. So when they abandon you, when you're left in the dark, don't scream, don't beg. Sit in silence. Analyze. Watch your thoughts like a scientist observing an experiment. Dissect your emotions. Map out where your weakness lives and starve it. Don't reach outward, reach inward. Because once you've built a mind that refuses to collapse under pressure, you become someone they can never control again. You are not here to be liked. You are not here to stay soft. You are here to become dangerous to anything that ever tried to break you. If you feel that shift inside you, mark it, declare it. Say, pain sharpens my power. Rule Hajon. Weak minds seek comfort. Strong minds seek control. When most people are hurt, they chase distractions, temporary highs, shallow dopamine hits. They scroll endlessly, drink, overshare, beg friends to soothe them. Anything to escape the war inside their own mind. But here's the hard truth. Comfort kills growth. And that's exactly what the world wants from you. A mind addicted to ease, incapable of rising. If you want to become untouchable, you must rewire how your brain responds to pain. This is neuroscience. Pain activates the same neural circuits as learning. Your brain is literally recording data while you suffer. But most people smother that data with comfort before they can use it. Machiavelli understood that control is the highest form of power. And it doesn't begin with others, it begins with yourself. You've been trained to numb discomfort, to run from it. But the one who rules his own mind rules the world. While others chase pleasure, you train focus. While they need reassurance, you sit with silence. While they panic, you plan. That's not cruelty. That's psychological dominance over the only battlefield that matters, your own mind. And yes, people will call you cold. They'll say you've changed. They'll whisper that you're heartless. But what they really mean is, they can no longer manipulate you. Your silence will scare them. Your indifference will offend them. But you don't need their approval. You need your mind to obey your will. Most people break here, but not you. Not anymore. If you're ready to train your mind past emotion, past weakness, past the hunger for comfort, declare it. My control is my revenge. Rule #2. Break emotion. Build the edge. You were never weak because life hurt you. You became weak because you let emotion hijack your judgment. You surrendered your mental power to feelings, to chaos, and in that moment, you became prey. Here's the reality. Pain is inevitable, but your interpretation of it is optional. In cognitive psychology, we call this framing. The one who controls meaning controls everything. Life may break your body, but if it breaks your mind, you were never ready in the first place. And here's the delusion most people cling to, that reacting emotionally is somehow authentic. It isn't. It's predictable. And predictable people are already controlled. The world studies you. If your reactions are automatic, you are owned. They know which words trigger your rage. They know which insults bait your sadness. They know how to play your need for validation like a piano. Every time you react the same way, you confirm your captivity. So, what's the antidote? Emotional discipline. Not emotional numbness discipline. You still feel, but you choose when to move. You still cry, but behind closed doors. You still speak, but only when every word cuts like a blade. You no longer waste energy arguing with people who've already decided who you are. Why? Because your focus is sacred. Machiavelli wrote that it is safer to be feared than loved. And in psychological warfare, love often softens you, ties you to illusions, makes you hesitant, but fear keeps people cautious. They'll measure their words, they'll double-check their moves, they'll respect you even if they don't understand you. That's the edge you're building now. Not just strength, but psychological sharpness. Control that doesn't need to shout to be felt. So, next time life throws fire at you, don't flinch, don't break. Stare it down. You've been broken before this time, you'll break through. Declare it. I feel nothing. I move with precision. Burn that into your brain. You are not here to react. You are here to rise. Rule #3. Rewrite the narrative or stay broken. Most people stay broken because they cling to the story life handed them. They wear their trauma like a badge, begging the world to understand. But Machiavellian power is never won through pity. It is seized through mental warfare. If you want to be untouchable, you must burn down the narrative that says you are a victim. Tear out every page that whispers, "Life wronged me," or "The world owes me." The world owes you nothing, but it will hand you power if you prove ruthless enough to take it. Your trauma is not your personality. Your pain is not your identity. Stop branding yourself with suffering. It was a phase, a test, a hit, but it's over. Now, destroy it. You are not here to tell the world what happened to you. You are here to show the world who you became because of it. People will try to remind you of your past. Let them. Just make sure the version they're speaking to doesn't exist anymore. That's how you control the narrative, by killing off the weak version of yourself. Machiavelli understood perception is more powerful than reality. So when you speak, let your words cut. When you walk, carry silence like a weapon. When they doubt, don't explain, exceed. And when life hits again, as it will, you won't crumble. You'll calculate, you'll adapt, you'll weaponize it. Because a mind trained in pain becomes fluent in strategy. Say it with force. I killed the old me. I walk as the weapon. The man life fears isn't the one who yells the loudest. It isn't the one who flexes his anger like a weapon. No, the man life fears is the one who doesn't just survive pain, he refines it. He shapes it into a blade so sharp that his very silence cuts deeper than another man's roar. You walk differently once you've learned this. Your eyes scan further ahead. Your body stops wasting energy. You smile less, but when you do, people feel it. Your silence becomes a warning. That's presence. That's energy that shifts a room without you saying a word. Psychology has a term for this: thin slicing. Humans make rapid judgments in seconds based on subtle cues, posture, micro-expressions, tone. You don't need to scream your strength. Your calmness under fire registers as dominance in their nervous system. And the more unreadable you become, the more their brains scramble to decode you. That confusion, that uncertainty, that's power. But here's where most men fail. They confuse feeling with thinking. They're told to express their emotions, to wear their hearts on their sleeves. But raw emotion is not strategy. It's ammunition you hand to the enemy. Emotion is a signal, not a command. It's not there to rule you. It's there to inform you. Anger is a clue something crossed your boundary. Fear is data about risk. Sadness is a signal of loss. But once you treat these signals as commands, rage, panic, despair, you've lost the game. The most dangerous man isn't the one who feels nothing. It's the one who feels everything and still calculates with precision. That's emotional alchemy. That's the difference between reaction and strategy. So, if you want to terrify the world, stay calm when they expect you to explode. Smile slightly when they expect you to collapse. Take notes when they expect you to argue. And then move when no one saw it coming. This is what they fear most. Not the man who lashes out, but the man who plots in silence. Rule #4. Strategy is the only true power. charm fades, emotions fluctuate, influence comes and goes. But strategy outlasts them all. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. Power isn't about being the strongest in the room. It's about being the smartest. It's about seeing 5 moves ahead while everyone else is blinded by impulse. This is how the weak flip the script. This is how the broken rewrite their outcome. You don't need more strength. You don't need healing slogans. You need calculation. Every setback becomes leverage. Every betrayal becomes intelligence. Every pain point becomes a map. Stop praying for less pain. Train your mind to extract the value inside it. Pain contains patterns. If you're betrayed once, learn what signals you ignored. If you collapse under stress, study the crack in your focus. If you lose control emotionally, analyze what button they pressed. Every weakness you uncover is a weapon you can neutralize. Cognitive behavioral psychology calls this metacognition, thinking about your thinking, studying the very patterns that govern you. Once you master this, life can't blindside you the same way again. The same manipulation won't work twice. The same betrayal won't cut the same way. Why? Because you've turned the wound into a blueprint. That's why strategy is the highest form of revenge. Not rage, not revenge posts, not clapping back, but becoming so unreadable, so disciplined, so untouchable that people can't even predict where your next move will come from. And when you arrive at that state, when you've refined pain into precision, you become dangerous without ever raising your voice. Say it now. I don't react. I reposition. Rule #5. Emotional immunity, kill their control. Let's get this straight. The world doesn't destroy you with weapons. It destroys you with expectations, with pressure, with emotional bait. You're told to be nice when you should be silent, to forgive when you should walk away, to explain when you should disappear. Every time you comply, you bleed a little more of yourself out for people who would gladly sharpen the knife again tomorrow. That's how control works, not with force, with emotion. But you're not playing that game anymore. This is where emotional immunity begins. Not numbness, immunity. The difference is everything. Numbness avoids. Immunity absorbs and stays unaffected. Numbness is weakness disguised. It's running from the signal. Immunity is strength refined. It's hearing the signal, registering it, and still refusing to let it rule you. Imagine someone insults you. A weak mind spirals, replaying the words, feeling smaller. A numb mind pretends it doesn't care, but the wound festers beneath. But an immune mind, it registers the insult, analyzes the source, and files it as data. Noted, weak projection, irrelevant, and then it keeps moving. That's immunity. When you build this, you kill their control. They can't pierce you with gossip. They can't destabilize you with absence. They can't bait you into rage with cheap shots, because your inner world is fortified. You've reinforced the walls so that only truth gets through. Social psychology calls this emotional detachment as boundary enforcement. You don't need to fight every insult. You don't need to defend every reputation hit. Your clarity becomes the mirror, and most people can't stand what they see when their manipulation bounces back at them. This is what makes you terrifying. Not that you fight back, but that you vanish. Emotionally, first, physically, later. No ranting, no pleading, no dramatic exits. Just silence that hits harder than 1,000 words. Because here's the reality. Weakness is loud, strength is quiet, chaos screams, strategy whispers. And when they go looking for the version of you that used to play their game, the over-explainer, the emotional reactor, the one who begged for clarity, they'll find emptiness. That void, that's your new weapon. Say it now. My peace is locked. No one gets in. Rule #6. Audit everything that touches your energy. Machiavelli said, the first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. Translation, audit your circle. Audit every conversation, every environment, every person. Ask, does this strengthen me or scatter me? Because here's the truth. Most people around you aren't neutral. They're pulling energy. They're bending your standards. They're normalizing mediocrity. And every time you let them in, you lower your fortress walls. This isn't about paranoia. It's about preservation. Energy is the most expensive currency you own. Stop giving it away to anyone who makes you shrink, doubt, or hesitate. The second you feel your focus scatter, cut it, quietly, strategically, without announcement. Not because you hate them, because you respect yourself. This is how you rise, not by fighting everyone, but by removing their access. Not by proving yourself, but by denying their grip. By the time they realize you've gone, the door has already been sealed. And that silence, that absence, that new clarity, it terrifies them more than any explosion ever could. Say it with me. I no longer chase, I vanish, and they feel the void. Rule #7. Weaponize your presence. Powerful men don't need to shout. They don't need to explain themselves endlessly. They don't argue in public just to prove a point. They walk in silence, but their silence carries weight. Their presence speaks louder than words ever could. This isn't arrogance, it's calibration. When you understand the battlefield you're walking into, when you know eyes are watching, when you realize perception shapes reality, you start using presence like a weapon. Here's the psychology behind it. Humans are wired to respond to dominance cues: posture, pacing, eye contact, stillness. Neuroscience shows that when someone enters a room with composure and controlled energy, our brains release stress hormones. We instinctively pay attention. That's presence. Machiavelli wrote that rulers must appear strong even when they are not, because perception outranks truth. That's not deception, that's survival. In the game of power, it doesn't matter if you're shaken inside, if you carry yourself like stone. The world bends around the image. So you train yourself to be unreadable, calm, cold, collected. Your stillness becomes a mirror. People project onto you fear, guilt, insecurity, and you reveal nothing back. That's how you win without lifting a finger. Think about it. A room changes when a certain person walks in. The air tightens. Conversations pause. People shift in their seats. That isn't magic, it's psychology. Presence is built in solitude, in self-discipline, in refusing to need external validation. Weak men overcompensate. They talk too much, brag too loud, overshare their plans. But the man of presence, he doesn't need to be liked. He needs to be felt. And the less you explain, the more they wonder. The less you reveal, the more they obsess. That's how presence manipulates without words. Say this now. My presence is my power. My silence is my strike. Rule #8. Psychological warfare, winning without noise. Presence alone is warfare. Silence is a form of attack. Most people think war is about force. Wrong. Modern war is psychological, invisible, and lethal. Look closely at history. The most feared men weren't always the loudest. They weren't parading their emotions or broadcasting their strategies. They were deliberate, calculated, quiet. That silence made them unpredictable, and unpredictability is terror. Psychology calls this the ambiguity effect. Humans fear what they can't predict. The more unreadable you are, the more others scramble to adjust their behavior around you. You become the variable they can't calculate. That's dominance. So you stop clapping back. You stop defending your name every time it's spoken. You stop proving yourself. Instead, you practice brutal self-control. You keep your face still when they lie, provoke, or attack. You give them nothing. That nothingness becomes the loudest answer they'll ever receive. Because when you don't react, people are forced to confront themselves. They expect chaos. They expect noise. They expect collapse. And instead, they're met with silence. That contrast makes them nervous. They'll rethink their tone before they even approach you. That's respect built, not through demand, but through psychological contrast. If they expect you to argue and you stay calm, that's power. If they expect you to chase and you vanish, that's power. If they expect you to fold and you rise sharper, that's real, calculated power. This is how you terrify without cruelty. Not by screaming for respect, but by becoming unreadable, untouchable, unavailable to their games. Say it now. I don't argue. I don't defend. I calculate in silence. Rule #9. Building the unbreakable mind. You've been betrayed. You've sat in silence with thoughts that tried to eat you alive. You've been overlooked, underestimated, doubted, and yet you're still here, stronger, sharper, colder. Not because life got easier, but because you finally realized the world doesn't reward softness. It rewards resilience. It rewards the mind that refuses to break, even when everything else does. The unbreakable mind isn't born, it's engineered. You construct it deliberately. Every morning, you choose sharpness over comfort. Every response becomes calculated. Every setback becomes a test. You stop chasing outcomes and start building leverage. You stop begging for clarity and start enforcing standards. This is what cognitive neuroscience calls neuroplasticity, the brain reshaping itself through repeated patterns. If you keep reacting emotionally, you carve pathways of weakness. But if you practice calm under fire, discipline in chaos, stillness in insult, you rewire your brain into steel. That's how you become unbreakable. Machiavelli said, "Men must either be feared or crushed." Translation: power doesn't exist in half measures. Either you control your mind, or the world controls it for you. And here's the brutal truth. Most men never make it here. They crave the old comfort, the noise, the validation. They run back to the easy patterns because silence terrifies them. But not you. You've burned the bridge back. You don't crave the past anymore, you construct forward. The unbreakable mind doesn't panic under stress. It pauses. It doesn't collapse in betrayal. It recalculates. It doesn't beg for respect. It lives in such a way that disrespect never gets through the gates. That's the final transformation, from survival to strategy, from emotional reaction to psychological dominance, from being broken to becoming the weapon. Say it now. I am untouchable. I own my mind. Rule #0. Psychological clarity, the highest form of dominance. This is the final state. You've stopped reacting to life. You've started running it. You've trained your mind to stay strong when life tries to break you. That's what Machiavelli meant by his coldest law. He who controls his mind controls the world. Think about it. Most people never escape their own impulses. They are slaves to bias. Loss aversion makes them cling to dead relationships. Confirmation bias blinds them to uncomfortable truths. Status quo bias keeps them trapped in mediocrity. But once you see these traps, once you build immunity to them, you are no longer governed by the same rules as everyone else. You don't hand out emotional access like it costs nothing. You don't let betrayal seduce you into weakness. You don't allow attention to rewrite your values because you've reprogrammed yourself. Your clarity is now your weapon. The world tries to destabilize you with gossip, distraction, shallow promises. But your mind, cold, clear, and calculating, cuts through all of it. You don't fight chaos with more chaos. You neutralize it with silence. You don't scream for respect. You live in such a way that disrespect bounces off your walls and ricochets back at those who tried to plant it. This is what Machiavelli called invincibility through perception. Not because you can't be attacked, but because no attack lands. You've sealed the cracks. You've burned the bridges that led back to weakness. What stands now is a fortress of discipline, distance, and design. The unbreakable mind doesn't need recognition. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need permission. It moves in silence, calculates in solitude, and strikes only when necessary. That's why it terrifies people, because they can't predict it, can't manipulate it, can't control it. The shift from survival to strategy. The man you were needed things to go right. The man you are becoming knows how to win, even when everything goes wrong, because the game isn't emotional anymore. It's psychological. It's strategic. It's war. So you walk differently now, not with arrogance, but with power. You speak less, but when you do, people listen. You don't try to fit in. You don't need to. Your presence makes the room adjust to you. You don't explain your silence, you wear it like armor. That's what transformation looks like, not becoming better in the eyes of others, but becoming impossible to destabilize. You don't exist to be understood. You exist to be untouchable. Rule Hassan 1. Position over permission. Here's the last truth you need to internalize. You don't ask for value. You build it. You don't wait for recognition. You embody it. You don't shrink to make others comfortable. You hold your frame, no matter how many people can't handle it. This is what strategy means. Position over permission. You stop begging for approval and start building leverage. You stop proving your worth and start controlling the board. That's the essence of power. Not noise, not aggression, not revenge, but the quiet, cold, consistent accumulation of position. And when people realize they can't move you emotionally, when they can't bait you into chaos, when they can't predict your next step, their respect is automatic. They stop testing you. They stop wasting your time. They stop seeing you as equal and start seeing you as untouchable. Because nothing is more powerful than a man who owns his mind. The final signal. This is not about becoming cruel. It's not about punishing the world. It's about protecting your inner empire so ruthlessly that chaos can't breach it. It's about evolving past the need for validation, attention, or revenge. It's about becoming a presence so disciplined, so psychologically sharp, that the world bends around you. So here's the question. Are you still reacting, or are you controlling? Are you still bleeding for old stories, or are you rewriting them? Are you still handing power to the unworthy, or have you cut the cord? If you've made it this far, then you've already stepped into the final transformation. You are no longer rebuilding. You are reprogramming. You are no longer begging. You are building. Say it now and mean it. I am untouchable. I own my mind.